It was a plan of the New York Marathon Club, secretly, because they consider them the top marathon club in the world, to run a marathon in every continent, 7 continents, in only 7 days, for which you would require a jumbo jet, if you're lucky, and you'd have to have 5 hours in each continent in which to run the marathon and get through security and customs both ways and get back onto it. Well, for 6 years, New York people tried to get American Airlines computer to, because you have to have scheduled flights, obviously, so they couldn't come up with a way of doing it and give the runners 5 hours, which is what you needed. So eventually, the only non-American member of the New York Marathon Club was Dr. Michael Stroud, who was their sort of mascot doctor. And after 6 years waiting for the call up to do this, he got fed up. So I happened to be doing an expedition plan with him, and he said, this year, the NHS has only given me 7 days off, but I know something that would take 7 days only, and I think the Americans have had long enough to get ahead with it, so why don't we have a go, although we never ran marathons. But he said, well, anyone can train to run a marathon, and so we did. And I found a lady with a Hounslow British Airways computer, and BA managed to work it so that as long as we were never 1 minute late, because they wouldn't keep the jets waiting, they would do it for us, which they did. We had a problem, which was that about 3.5 months before we were due to set out, I had a heart attack, probably because I was flying EasyJet, and I sort of collapsed, apparently. I don't remember it. I was on a life support machine for 3 days and nights. I had a double bypass. On the 13th attempt to start it ticking, it did tick again, and my late wife, she said, you've had a heart attack, 4 days ago. So I don't know why, but it took me 3 months gradually, because they sew you up with wire, learning to walk without lying down the whole time, and eventually to jog, and then slight uphill. And 3.5 months later, we did 2 trial marathons, one in Cardiff. I think we ran 4.5 hours, both of them, and they were within 3 days of each other. So Land Rover reckoned that we'd be all right. And Land Rover were the only company which had representatives in every single continent, including Antarctica, on the sub-Antarctic islands, where they would collect us from the aeroplane, take us to the beginning, drop us off with the international marathon bloke who makes sure you run 26.2 miles, and then collect us and take us straight back to the aeroplane. And the Land Rover agents knew the airport people well enough to give us a good way through, because it's really fine, and you've got jet lag, so you don't feel too well. But it worked perfectly well, and it was called the Land Rover 7x7x7.